Hey everybody, Bob Ciccarello back with another edition of The Voice of Bodybuilding. We are fresh off the Arnold Classic weekend, and that is the starter of the season every year. Has been for 36 years, if I'm not mistaken. 37th anniversary coming up next year for the Arnold. Congratulations to everybody associated with the Arnold, including Brian Powers, Arnold himself, of course, and the entire team that makes that weekend go. It was jam-packed, folks. If you were there, you saw tough to get around, kind of a throwback to the old days. Kovac knocked us back a couple of steps, but back in full force, and great to see lots of new companies out there and some of the old ones back in business. Speaking of companies, folks, we couldn't do this without our top sponsors. This edition, of course, powered by Panada. We weren't there at the Arnold, but Panada, the title sponsor of the Arnold UK, coming up in just about a week and a half now. More to come with that later on. Celsius was there representing as one of the top sponsors and keeping me hydrated. As you can see, folks, what is that? Well, that is the container for this, which is the powder form. Okay, these are the on-the-go packets. And I tell you what, these are great because going overseas, can't really take liquid. So appreciate the Celsius people pushing that out to me. Big shout out to Jacqueline. I got to meet her first and foremost at the Celsius booth. She's the one that makes it all happen. Congratulations, Jacqueline. What a great booth and what a great representation. And, of course, my title sponsor, Mutant. And Mutant was large and in charge at the Arnold. For anybody that was at that booth, you got to meet two Olympians and Andrea Shaw and the giant killer himself, Sean Clarita, was there. Speaking of Sean's, Sugar Sean Ray also at the booth. Dusty Hanshaw, IFBB superstar. Ron Partlow and the rest of the crew. George, congratulations to everybody and thanks for everything. What a great time that we had there. And plenty of big things coming from Mutant in the future. So, let's start out with the women's divisions. I want to give a quick shout out. We cover mostly the men's stuff, but fitness. Ariel Kadar makes it 3 in a row. Really, no question there. Really has separated herself from the pack, continuing to be a top Olympian contender. Those great Arnold inspired routines with the movie themes. Terminator was last year. This year, it was the Predator, and she puts 3 in her pocket. Wellness, Francielle Matos, your only Olympia champion and 3-time at that, puts an Arnold title in her back pocket. That's assuming bikinis have back pockets. But you get what I'm saying. She continues to dominate against Nunez. Second to her again, that's a rivalry kind of like Chris Bumstead and Ramon Dino. We'll cover a little bit that later on. But Francielle, congratulations to her. And bikini, it was Laura-Alicia Patos, who quickly corrected me on stage as I announced her the 2-time defending champ. No, 3-time champ. She was the defending champ, but she's got 3 of these now. So good for Laura Lee, also a top Olympia contender. And you can't discount her when you talk about who can win that title come this October. All right, here we go, folks. It was the wheelchair bodybuilding starting things off. Big shout out to Nick Scott, the Beast, the wheelchair chairman. Does a lot of work and puts a lot of effort into this division. What an upset this was. A guy named Raheesh John, nobody's ever heard of, comes out of the woodwork, actually puts his stamp on it, and not the biggest guy on stage, but he was in shape, he was muscular, he was very, very good, and he got awarded the title. This would come, for those that follows any of the wheelchair stuff, he beats Gabe Andruli, who's been a perennial on the circuit, but the real story was Harold King Kong Kelly, the all-time winningest bodybuilder in wheelchair. This kid's won it all. That's why they call him King Kong. He's got a whole host of titles, 5, I believe, Olympia titles, at least 4 or 5 on the Arnold at front as well. He's won everything, 20, I don't know, I've lost track, 24 titles to his credit. But he was in 4th, and I think that surprised a lot of people. Maybe it surprised Harold even himself, but this wasn't the best Harold we've seen. He was a little soft. He's usually a little bit harder and more muscular, but he's been competing for a long time. Don't know if this is the end of the road for Harold. I'm sure he was looking for another title to maybe finish out his career, but he had to settle for 4th place, but may not be the end of the road. Harold might bounce back, but if not, what a great champion he has been for the wheelchair division. All right, men's physique, it was Diogo Montenegro, Brazil's own, bringing it. He's been a top contender for many years now, so I don't think it came as any real surprise that Diogo ended up in the winner's circle. But what an emotional response when he was declared the winner and Arnold came out. He literally just started sobbing on stage. He was so overcome with emotion that he just not only won, but here's Arnold standing in front of you. Don't you look fantastic and all that stuff. And he did. He did look fantastic. But Arnold almost held his head at one point because it was like somebody consoling their kid on the win, after his first victory. But congratulations, Diogo. He's got a couple of gyms he's building, which actually I might be helping him out with. He wants some new Panada equipment, and nobody better than our good friends at ProFit, other company I'm a partner in, to actually build that for him. So congratulations, Diogo. All right, we're getting into classic physique. Everybody on the planet had Ramon winning this show going in. Everybody. Chris Bumstead, not there. Obviously, we didn't expect he would be. Your multi-time champion at the Olympia. So he was there in attendance and watching this, but it wasn't his rival Ramon that would win, but Wesley Vissers. And a lot of people, that's a new name to them. Now, for those that have been following, I've known Wesley Vissers for 5-6 years now because he won the very first show that I put on in the UK called the London Pro. That was 2018, if I'm not mistaken. And he won his pro card there. So I saw this kid before anybody saw him. Tall, 6'2", very Arnold-esque. He's got that same type of physique. But when you talk about classic physique, and we always wonder this, right? What is classic physique? Is it a look? Is it just a physique? Is it both? Is it supposed to conjure up images of physique's past? Classic being, okay, throwback to the old days. He's got that kind of physique. Like, he looks like a guy that could have been in competing. If you took black and white photos of him and put him out there, barring that obviously he's better than guys back in the 70s, he looks like he could have been a guy in the 70s. He just has that look. His physique, again, very Arnold reminiscent, although actually he gave credit and kudos to him for kind of reminding Arnold himself as a young Lou Ferrigno, which also wasn't bad company to have. But Wesley Vissers takes it all over Ramon. Urs in the third solid. Again, a young kid continues to improve. And Breon in fourth. I want to talk about that at length in a second. But first of all, congratulations, Wesley. Great physique, brought his all-time best, and he needed his all-time best to beat Ramon. Ramon is excellent. Second in the world to C-Bum is certainly nothing to sneeze about, right? But he's got an imbalance, and it's a tough one to have because everybody in the world wants big arms, right? His arms are huge. And we've covered this before. His forearms in particular are absolutely gigantic. Ramon's a lot bigger than you think he is. He's not a small guy. But his arms are, you always hate to say this because, as I've said for years, it's like bodybuilding blasphemy. They're too big for the rest of his physique. Okay, this creates an imbalance. The bigger your arms are, the smaller your back tends to look. And this is where Wesley got him, was pretty much from the back. Hate to coin bodybuilding shows are one from the back, but in this particular case, it actually was because they were very comparable from the front. And with those big arms, the front shots are going to look great on Ramon. That's why he's as good as he is. But Wesley caught him. Ramon not quite at his best, somewhere in that 95 percentile, but Wesley 100% for Wesley. And that's all it took to put him in the winner's circle. Urs, again, third place, great young talent. His time's coming. Might be another year or two, but he continues to fill out that big frame of his and bring it. Breon Ansley, former two-time Olympic champ, fourth place. We've covered this in previous editions of The Voice of Bodybuilding. In my opinion, Breon should have gone to the 212 a couple of years ago. He believes he's got unfinished business, and I think he does have unfinished business, but not in this division. He's never going to smell victory again at the Olympia or the Arnold level because it's passed him by just that much over the last 5 years. Very reminiscent of Danny Hester in Classic Physique, as he was the first winner, and Mark Anthony in Men's Physique years ago when he was a great champion, but within 2-3 years it caught up with him and surpassed him. And Breon was a great champion, but guys are bigger, they're taller. With the weight increase, it's actually helped some of the bigger guys to actually fill out even more. He's got an excellent physique, but Breon doesn't remind me of a classic physique bodybuilder. Wesley does, certainly C-Bum does, but he reminds me of a good 212 bodybuilding champion. So Breon, if you're seeing this, and I know we've had many conversations, I know you kind of get a kick out of my take on it, but go to the 212. Go try to earn another title like Derek Lunsford did and put yourself in the history books. He's got the talent to contend. He can stand next to Sean Clarita. Okay, he can stand next to these current champs and maybe even beat him. Don't know because we'd have to see him next to him, but he's got all the attributes. You want to extend your competitive career a little bit, have a shot at the winner's circle, get yourself into 212, bro. You still got plenty of life left and plenty of training, coming your way. Listen, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, bro. You got a physique that was worthy of 2 Olympia titles. So everything's there. It's literally just a matter of coming in shape and being in contention and in comparison to the guy standing next to you. You would compare much better to other guys in the 212. All right, Open. Obviously, this was the talk of the entire weekend. 99% of the people are there for the Open. It didn't disappoint. All the pre-contest clatter was for Hadi Choopan and Samson Daoud and what was going to happen. Well, if you roll back the clock a little bit and you catch a previous episode of The Voice of Bodybuilding, I predicted that if Samson was 95%, that he wins this show all day long over Hadi. But that's not what we saw. What we saw was a 90% Samson. Very good. You know I'm a big Samson fan. We've been over this 100 times. Love his physique. I think he's got the most complete physique. That's a Mr. Olympia physique in my opinion. But you got to bring the conditioning as well. He's in good condition. Don't get me wrong. Let's not make this apples and oranges because it's not. But you got to keep pace because Hadi is tremendous. A former Olympia champ. He's very complete. He's also very consistent. Hadi doesn't miss. We see, he's always dancing in 98, 99, 100%. Very difficult to beat. But while Hadi doesn't have quite the structure and the symmetry of a Samson, he's not bad either, right? Listen, he's not, I wouldn't say he's blocky. Could he use a smaller waist? Sure, we all could, right? But his hallmark is conditioning and muscularity, and he brought both. This might have been the best Hadi Choopan that I've seen, barring even his Olympia win, or even the year before where I thought a lot of people thought, including myself, he might have won the title over Big Ramy, but he didn't. But you could have made a case because he was tremendous. Well, he was tremendous here. Although it was a well-fought campaign, I didn't think it was as close as a lot of people said it was. I got a lot of feedback from people in between. You could flip a coin, could go either way. I didn't see that. I saw a decisive 1-2. I don't think Samson ever contended right from the second they walked out because he just wasn't conditioned enough. Again, you don't have to be razor sharp. He doesn't have to match Hadi in conditioning, okay? He's just got to get close, but he wasn't close enough. This doesn't take away from Hadi's victory. Hadi looked tremendous, as I said, probably the best we've ever seen him. Puts an Arnold notch into his belt and a cool check for $300,000. Certainly is not hurting his wallet. Samson had to relegate himself to second place. No shame in that. You lost against an Olympian that he's never beaten yet. So hopefully we will see this rematch at the Olympia once again. And I say hopefully because some things have transpired over the last 24 hours we're going to get into in just a bit. Rafael Brandao might have been the talk of the show, other than the winner, because he took a year off. It was a great, great time to take off, put your nose to the grindstone, get in the gym, and do the business of bodybuilding. And he did not disappoint. Rafael Brandao came in. He was conditioned. He was bigger, a little bit more dense than we've seen him in the last couple of years. His physique was very close to what I would consider 100% for him. He just wasn't big enough. You needed to supersize him. Well, that's what he did. Came back with probably another 10 pounds of muscle on him, or at least size. It looked great. Waist stayed small, in condition, solid third place. Rafael was closer to Samson than Samson was to Hadi. Okay, let that sink into a minute. This kid's a superstar. Another year of solid training. What would I do if I was Rafael at this point? Well, you got to get a qualification because you do want to dance on that Olympia stage. And I think he's added some good weight. And I think he can continue to do that while competing, right? Because you want to qualify still. I would be hitting another show. Don't know if he's confirmed for the UK, but that would be a great opportunity because I don't believe Samson's there and I don't believe Hadi's there. That would put him as the odds-on favorite to take the title. So again, don't know what his camp's got planned for him, but hopefully we'll see him in the UK. Don't be shocked if Rafael Brandao standing there with that Arnold trophy with the man himself on stage. John De La Rosa in the fourth. Great return for John. Looked very solid. He does give up some size to these guys, but for John, it might have been the best John De La Rosa we've seen in a bit. James Hollingshead came in with a whole lot of fanfare behind him, and he's got a lot of fan support. He will be in the UK. Certainly held his own. The midsection continues to be his Achilles heel. Got to get that midsection down, but he's got a lot of size, got a lot of muscle. Conditioning he's pretty much known for. If he can just get that waist a little bit smaller, That might include moving around some meals, maybe bringing smaller meals into the equation to shrink that belly down a little bit. It's not terrible. I mean, listen, he was top 5 in the Arnold, right? But we're splitting hairs here at this level. You want to move up, and every time you move up, it's another 10, 20 grand in your pocket. So it makes a big difference. Akeem Williams ended up in 6th. Akeem didn't look like he was in contention right off the bat, but throughout the judging process, it seemed like he was moving up. I almost expected him to be in that 4th spot where John De La Rosa was, but it seemed like he started out a little bit slow and got better as he went. If you looked at the judging call-outs, he kind of seemed to move up every round, but fell a little bit short there in the 6th. Akeem continues to just bring a crap load of muscle. Definitely one of the bigger guys. Akeem reminds me of Johnny Morant from years ago, and I bring that up for a very specific reason. Unfortunately, I just got word that we lost Johnny Morant just the other day. So Johnny Morant, if you don't know who he was, guys, I know I have a lot of young listeners here. Google him. Johnny Morant, the Jersey Volcano, trained out of John Kemper's Diamond Gym back in the 80s. I went up against him a whole bunch of times as an amateur. Actually, Johnny Morant is the reason I didn't turn pro 10 years earlier than I ended up turning pro. He beat me at the 89 USA. He would then go on to lose to Eddie Robinson. Eddie Robinson, obviously, everybody knows. He was fantastic, major guns. And then we would both go to the North Americans where he would beat me again to get that pro card. And then he would move on to the pros, WBF, back to the IFBB. But Johnny was a great, big, humble giant. Big guy, big chest. I mean, he was known for that big barrel chest. But you know what? Condolences to his family. And rest in peace, Johnny. We'll see you up in that big gym in the sky later. Okay, so that's the men's open in a nutshell. I got to mention the seminar because this is Jim Lorimer, God bless him. We lost a few years ago. He used to run the Arnold. Used to refer to the seminar as the crown jewel of the weekend. It was like one of those little hidden things that not everybody knew about, but it was fantastic because you got a chance to see Arnold literally one-on-one. So I would just sit with Arnold, and for some of those, it was just me and him for an hour, which is the coolest thing in the world, by the way. As a bodybuilding fan, if I put my bodybuilding fan hat on, who gets a chance to sit with Arnold for an hour? Think about this from a TV production standpoint, right? He's going to go on a Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. He's on there for 10 minutes, maybe 11 minutes, tops, right? That's with commercials and such, pitching a new movie or a book or whatever he's working on. Interviews, with any major network telecast, right? Nobody gets a chance to sit there with Arnold for an hour, but I do. And that's the coolest thing in the world and continues to be. And I find myself very fortunate that I'm in that position every year. And it's a lot of fun. For a lot of years, we had Franco join us, watching these two tell our old stories of Joe Weider and such. It was always hilarious, and an Arnold would rip on Franco. And a nice, these guys were best friends. But unfortunately, we lost Franco a few years ago. But we started off with the champs from the night before. I had them come out and get their acknowledgement from the crowd. Great crowd, by the way. Then we had the legends come out. Ronnie Coleman, this is all on the same stage, right? Talk about a great opportunity, folks. If you don't traditionally go to this, trust me, next year, every year after, go to the seminar on Sunday. It's fantastic. Here's who I had to sit out with on stage and shoot the breeze. Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, Phil Heath, Lee Haney. And then we had Wesley and Hadi Chupan along with Hani Rambod, which I got to give a big shout out to because I think Hani Rambod, the trainer of Hadi Chupan, was as excited, if not more, than Hadi was to win, as you've seen him run on stage if you were watching the show. And Hadi wanted to take his medal off and give it to Hani. And he's been so intricate to Hadi's career. And I mean even beyond just prepping him as a coach. We all know that Hani's one of the greatest coaches, if not the greatest coach in bodybuilding history with 26 Olympia credits to his name, people that he's guided to the Olympia win. So, but he's had to be instrumental. One, he speaks the language. Both Iranian, obviously he speaks the language of Farsi. So he's able to communicate with them. Two, getting him to the U.S. Listen, we lost a couple of athletes in this show because they couldn't get visas or get to the U.S., including Rubio, who, again, don't know if he's going in the Arnold UK. I guess we'll find out. But this continues to be a problem in the world of getting athletes from other countries due to visa issues. Now, whether it's their issue, it's a state thing, it's a country thing, whatever, doesn't help the fact that as an athlete, I mean, you've got every opportunity in the world to qualify to get to the Olympia, and then you got to be denied because of some visa thing. And it's terrible, but it's nothing we can control, folks. Like we talk about this all the time. Why isn't the IFBB doing something? What do you want us to do? Like what would you want us? I say, like, Jim Mannion, right? Or Tyler, are they supposed to call the Ayatollah of Iran? Hey, listen, we need this guy over here to compete in a bodybuilding show. This is international politics, folks, okay? Much as Jim has influence on everybody in this world, especially in Pittsburgh, this just isn't going to happen. So they have problems with this in the Olympics. So what are we going to do? That said, the big news over the weekend, aside from the obvious, was the announcement from Arnold. Now, let's roll back the tape a little bit. I get in on Thursday. Athletes meeting is on Thursday night, and then we go right to the meet the athletes, the Arnold meet and greet, as it would be, where you get a chance to get to these guys, get autographs, pictures with them, whatever. At the meeting, Arnold's there. Now, why is this unusual? Well, he's not normally there. Okay, normally he doesn't even get in until Friday. But this year he got in a day early for whatever reason. He had other business to attend to, just decided to come out early. And he showed up at the meeting. And this was great because normally he's not there. It gave the athletes that normally don't get an opportunity to get that close to him an opportunity to shake his hand. And he's very good with the athletes. He loves talking to them. He loves meeting them. He gives them his time. He took all kinds of selfies, especially with the girls. It's amazing when the bikini girls came up, Arnold took every selfie there was. Hey, can't blame the man, right? So I saw Wesley Vissers. He was like a little kid because he actually got a chance to get right up to him and take a selfie with him. And he was like a kid in the candy store. But anyway, he came up and he did a little speech, which was kind of normal, exactly what you would expect from Arnold. We've been doing this for 36 years. This is how we started. This is where we're going. But then all of a sudden he broke out into this exclamation of, and next year, he says, I know this has been something that's been going on for years, and we kind of had a handshake deal with Ben Weider, kind of went a little bit into the history for those bodybuilding historians that are out there watching, about how they had basically a handshake deal, in principle, that the Arnold prize money would never exceed the Olympia prize money. Okay. But he said, Ben and Joe, God bless them, I love them, they're not here anymore. And I feel as though I want to bump this prize money up. And he made a declaration right there, which he made later on stage at night, that he is going to increase the prize money to $500,000. Now, why is this significant? Well, one, it's $500,000, right? Two, that exceeds the Olympia prize. Now, when he says increase the prize, he's not talking across the board. First place at the Arnold next year, according to Arnold, he's going to increase the first place award to $500,000. That is $100,000 over the Olympia. So this changes the landscape on a whole lot of things, right? First and foremost, let me give you my stance. Great for the athletes, right? A lot of speculation. What's the Olympia going to do? Are they going to match? Are they going to go above it? Whatever. Listen, that's up to Jake Wood and the Olympia. God bless them. I think healthy competition is good for any business or sports entity or anything. So I applaud Arnold. Listen, I mean, again, great for the athletes, good for the sport overall. I hope the Olympia keeps pace, and I'm sure they're looking at their options now of what to do. Now, in all fairness, I got to defend the Olympia in a little something here, because you can't ignore the facts, folks, right? The Olympia gives away over, I could be slightly wrong on this, but not much, over $1.2 million of prize money. The Arnold is about half of that currently, okay? Now, this will change the scope on things, but the Olympia also has the burden, if you want to use that word, of getting up to 400 athletes that qualify at the Olympia every year. You're talking about flights, hotels, per diem, all that stuff for every athlete. You're talking a lot of money, folks. Trust me, I've worked behind the scenes, okay? Not an easy task to coordinate, not an easy task to get across the stage. Sometimes we have upwards of 70 people on stage and in a division, okay? Judging is a little longer, but all 11 divisions are represented at the Olympia. It's not the case at the Arnold. The Arnold doesn't have the 212 figure, women's bodybuilding and women's physique. They're missing 4 divisions that they, for whatever reasons, don't put on. Personally, I'd like to see that get reinstated. I think the Arnold, being the second most prestigious show in the world, let's not lose focus. The Arnold still, big as it is, great as it is a qualifier for the Olympia. Okay? Now, obviously, they're heads and tails above other qualifiers, but they're still a qualifier for the Olympia. So let's not lose focus of that. Let's also not lose focus that the Olympia has some burdens that they have to put out there. So now, will they fire back and increase that prize money? I certainly hope so. I would love to see $1 million prize money at the Olympia. So I just think this opens things up for the sport in general. People have asked, what's the league stand on this? Well, as I've told people 100,000 times now, right? The IFBB is a sanctioning body. If I'm Jim Mannion, Tyler Mannion, and the powers that be at the IFBB, I'm going, great. This isn't our fight. This is your fight. Listen, Arnold, Olympia, you guys want to duke this out and keep bumping each other up and outdoing each other? Good for everybody. But they don't have to take a stance. They're not going to take a stance, okay? I'm telling you this right now because there's no reason to. The IFBB sanctions shows all over the world. So good for them and good for everybody, right? I don't see this being a negative in any way, shape, or form. And Olympia's got the luxury of seeing this play out because this isn't going to happen until next March. So we're going to have an Olympia in between, which again isn't exactly small when it comes to prize money. And again, I'll double check on that. I think it might be closer to 1.3 or 1.4 at this point as they keep building up the back end also. And I applaud that move, and I tell you why. There's divisions now that I think can be bumped up. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Classic Physique is only $50,000 at the Olympia. Now, that doesn't hurt Chris Bumstead. Let's trust me, bro. He ain't doing this for the money, okay? Chris makes $50,000 putting out a new product or putting out some video, okay? He's got millions of followers. So he's doing just fine, okay? It's the title that keeps him going with that. The $50,000 is some extra pocket money for Chris, all right, to get that mustache trimmed up and looking sharp as he does, okay? But Jake Wood, the Olympia crew, they continue to build that prize money up. And listen, I like to see more money in the back end. When I back end, I'm talking about 6th place, 7th place, 8th place, 9th. If you're in the top 10 of the Olympia, I think you deserve a healthy paycheck, right? And I've gone over this for 20 years. 20 years ago, I could come up with videos for you guys, articles that I've written in magazines, complaining about the prize money, $10,000 shows. He's got to get bumped up. We're finally seeing the realization of that this year, not just with Arnold and his proclamation, okay, but with the Pro League as well. Let's not forget, it was just a month ago that the Pro League put news out that they are increasing the prize money. And this was 2 months ago, I believe. All right? $10,000 into each, in addition, into each Open Men's Pro Show. Now, I've got to address the elephant in the room because I've already seen, and I knew this was coming. The second Arnold made that announcement, I could have predicted, Bob Stradamus once again could have predicted, you're going to get some backlash from some of those divisions who aren't exactly there, right? And I've seen it. Oh, I'm glad he can increase the prize money for the guys. What about us? What about our division isn't even there? We don't even have representation. We don't even have a platform. What about us? This isn't fair. What's fair and what's equitable? This is the discussion that we need to be having, okay? Listen, especially some of the ladies' divisions, okay? This is a business first and foremost. I'm going to tell you right now, much like the NBA subsidizes the WNBA, okay? This isn't the NPC. So first of all, you got to separate church and state. The NPC is a much different business model than the IFBB Pro League. At the NPC level, absolutely right. I'm with you. 2/3 of the divisions, classes, and things are women, okay? And listen, it's an amateur show. They all get paid the same, which is zero, right? So that is fair and equitable, okay? It's an amateur division, NPC. When you get to the pros, every division except for the bodybuilding divisions, and I have to say that in plural these days because Classic Physique is bodybuilding. Let's not lose focus of that. They wear different shorts and they do a couple different poses, but it's still bodybuilding, okay? Men's Open and Classic are the two biggest breadwinners that we have in at the pro level. That's a fact, okay? This Arnold, the Olympia, take it whatever you will, any major show, 95, and I'm being nice with this, might be higher, 95% of the people that are there for the Open, are there for the big boys. That's a fact. Again, folks, I work behind the scenes on this stuff. Trust me. All right? This isn't hyperbole I'm throwing out there just to have a show or just to put some stuff out there. So what does this tell us? Well, As a promoter, and I've done that as well, you got to put your eggs into a basket that's going to have an ROI, a return on investment. Why would you pay a sanction fee? Put prize money up. Fly these athletes in there. Pay them per diem to give out buy the awards, right? All that stuff. To have no return. The fan base isn't big enough overall. When I say overall, I'm talking about every division that we have. Our IFBB Pro League, as it is not on par with a, quote, mainstream sport. We're not golf. We're not tennis. That's why we don't have $15 million tournaments like golf does or things like that. You know, the winners puts $20 million into their pocket. We're not a mainstream sport. Okay, let's just get that right off the bat. No. We're a niche of a niche of a niche, right? There's bodybuilding as a whole, not a mainstream sport, but still impressive. Listen, we've got good numbers out there, but we're just not mainstream. Then you got subcategories. By those, I mean anything that's not open men's bodybuilding. When you get to women's physique, women's bodybuilding, wheelchair, even men's physique to a point, okay? There's less and less interest. There just isn't that kind of numbers out there to substantiate it. That's why promoters generally don't put them on. That's why there's so many more bikini shows and men's, because there's a lot of interest in bikini. Of course, it's bikini, right? That's going to get a general interest because it's on the lesser end of muscle for women. As you go up in the muscle, the interest goes lower. Okay, we all know that stuff. And then even with the guys, it's the same thing. So as a promoter, you got to do what's right for business. And you're not going to put on those divisions because there's no return. And there's not even a lot of people that come out for them, okay? So that's how this stuff works, folks. All right? It's a business, and you got to use it and look at it as such. Is it fair? Well, that's up for debate. Is it equitable, right? This is, again, the debate. Just because you work hard, and this is the biggest complaint that we work as hard as the guys. We work just as hard. We're in the gym. We're busting our ass. We're dieting. We're this. We deserve the same money. No, you don't. You don't. It's kind of like that whole soccer feud that was going on, right? With the women's soccer team, the USA soccer team, that was saying that they deserve as much money as the guys. They win all these tournaments, that they've done this. The guys didn't even make the cut the last time. It doesn't make any difference. It's all about ad revenue and interest, okay? Nobody really cares, unfortunately, when you get to that big numbers, about women's soccer above the men's soccer, okay? It just doesn't exist. It's the same thing for the WNBA. There's arenas of nobody, okay? They don't deserve as much. Oh, why does LeBron make as much as the whole WNBA? Because people pay for LeBron. Because advertisers are gonna put their money where there's millions and millions of people watching. That's how they make their money, okay? By advertising and selling product. So it doesn't have anything to do. The fact that you work hard is great, and I applaud that action. Okay, but it doesn't mean anything. The guy in last place, the girl in last place could have worked just as hard as the winner. Do they deserve equal money? It's like, well, no, nobody would argue that, right? Well, no, it's a competition. It's the same thing when it comes to the business side of it. It's a competition. So no, I'm sorry, but I can't get on board. I think it would be a nice thing to do. I think Arnold should have those divisions back in because I think it makes it complete. And it is part of our family of the IFBB Pro League. But that's a decision up to them, and it's a business decision. But don't go out there campaigning. I see all this stuff out there already about that and about how this isn't fair and, you know, it's just bullshit and all that kind of stuff. That is not the case, okay? How much money's going in, how much is on the return. It's that simple, all right? And as a final note, I got to give a shout-out to Samson. I did see he put a video out yesterday, was definitely under the weather, coming back from the show. Listen, he's been burning that candle on both ends since the Olympia. Do I think that was a bad move? No. I actually applauded it because I think and still think that was a good move for him to stay leaner, carry it on to the Arnold, try to get that Arnold title. And let's face it, he didn't come up too short, right? He lost against the former Olympia champion, Hadi Chupan, who was at his absolutely all-time best. So I don't think it was a bad move. It's whatever protocol that he's using in that last 48 hours, okay? And that is a problem. Now, and I'm going to end with this. Let's not get carried away, folks. I saw some back and forth just this morning even, before I went to shoot this episode, of people, we got to do something. It's the elephant in the room. We got to address these things. These athletes, they're going down, they're dropping like flies. Listen, time out, okay? Just take a breath here. Let's keep things real, okay? Listen, Samson was not feeling well for whatever reason, okay? Whether it was a dehydration issue, whatever, I don't even know. I haven't talked to Samson yet. I probably will this week. I'll reach out to him. But I don't know. But it doesn't make any difference, right? Stuff happens. Listen, it's not healthy getting ready for a bodybuilding show. Everybody knows that. But every year, we have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of athletes that compete from the NPC to the IFBB Pro League. How many of them end up in the hospital? 2 or 3? I mean, a handful? Is it even enough to count on one hand? Right? Listen, people dehydrate. It happens, right? Other things happen. People aren't well. Maybe they're fighting a sickness. Maybe they have underlying issues. Maybe they just took it too far. I don't know. But you can make a case for this with any sport on this earth. I'll guarantee if you Google it, more people have dropped dead on a field, on a football field or a soccer or anything else than a bodybuilding field. How much footage do you got somebody dropping on stage into the orchestra pit? None. Okay? So by the numbers, no, it's not an epidemic. It's not a problem. It's not something we need to look into. We need more discussion on it. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I keep hearing these cries of we need to do something. And what are you going to do? This is an individual sport. People do individual things. Okay? If they take it too far, then they take it too far. The onus is on them. The real onus is on some of these coaches. Okay? But as the athlete, you're the one paying the coach. You're the one that's employing him. You're the one that picked him. Okay? Sometimes the two don't match. I did see a post because I'll put the elephant out in the room. Milo Sarshev is Samson's coach. He's the one that was working with him. Okay? I saw a very nice post that Milos put out saying that they're parting ways. He wishes Samson's the best, but he needs to get to a different level. And he thinks it's best for both parties. Great. That's the way things should be done. Professional. Nobody's pointing a finger or anything like that. Okay? I don't know exactly what they do to get ready for a show, but apparently it's not working. Now, we're splitting hairs. Again, you're talking about a guy who won the Arnold. You're talking about a guy that was at the top of his game at the Olympia, possible Olympia contender and winner. Guy that could have very easily won this show. So it's not that. It's that Samson needs expertise from somebody else at this point. Because whatever him and Milos are doing ain't working. He can't get out of the 90 percentile. And as you heard me say, and I'll come full circle to this episode, if he ain't 95%, he ain't winning. I'm talking Olympia Arnold, okay? He'll win any other show he steps on stage because he's that good. But in order to beat Hadi Chupan, in order to beat Derek Lunsford, and then you got new guys that are coming up, okay? Like a Rafael Brandao or a Nick Walker, right? Listen, Nick Walker ain't no slouch. We've all seen that. He's coming back this year at the New York Pro, a little bit later in the year, Steve's show, and then he'll be back at the Olympia guaranteed. He'll beat him, okay? If Samson can be 95%, he beats everybody. I'll stick by it. That's that. But if you can't, you're always going to be fighting for 3rd and 4th place. All right, folks, that's going to wrap things up. We'll be doing an update. Keep those questions coming, folks. That's me on there that's answering you. All those witty and sly comments and sarcastic things, that's all me, okay? So keep the questions coming. If you got anything you want me to address, I'll address it. Hit the like and subscribe button. We can always use more. Helps me with the sponsors like Celsius. All right? So, and everybody keeps asking me updates on the gym. So next episode, I promise you, we'll do an update. I'm waiting on about 8 or 9 pieces of Panada right now. It's about $150,000 worth of equipment more than what I've got. We've made some updates to the gym. The lounge is done. What's that you say? You'll see next episode. That's it. I'm out.